We sit down and we get behind the people. Wow, this visitor badge is kind of coming off me. I'll stick it on my leg here. Talking to JT Cruz. No comment about the visitor badge. I mean,
that's like important. You
well,
better keep that on.
I
They're
am
gonna kick you out of here,
dude. Well, nobody came and picked me up. They just said, "Come on down to the gym."
Yeah,
So
right.
you know.
You
Anyway,
know where the gym's at. You've been here before.
I do. What got you into coaching?
So when I went to school, I went to Christoper Newport University. Played 4 years there. Had an awesome experience. Like, would not trade that for anything.
Well, what got you down to CNU?
So, playing high school football, probably about my sophomore, junior year, I knew I wanted to play college football. And my brother, who's 3 years older than me, so he was a senior when I was a freshman. I got to kind of watch his recruiting process, and like whenever he took a visit somewhere, I would always just like tag along, and I was there too. And I remember one of our family friends, their daughter went to CNU, and so we went down there to watch a game and kind of tour the campus and do all that. And like, out of all the places that he visited, he ended up going to Ferrum College. He had a great career there. He had a great time. But like, I just remember that CNU game, like the experience there, the atmosphere. I was like, man, this is really, really cool. And then when he was at Ferrum, I would go and watch his games. And they were in the same conference as CNU. And so I'd watch CNU play them. And like, again, out of all the teams, like CNU, they did this thing on the sideline. They did when I was playing too, where every time they scored, the whole team would get together and they had like a chant on the sideline. And it was just like, it was really cool watching. So got to go see them like before I'm even thinking about recruiting.
How old are you at this
so
point?
like it was my freshman year.
So
like,
you're not really meeting I mean, you're meeting the coaches, but
like,
more of like, hi, I'm JT.
Not even that. Like, okay. I'm just tagging along. Like, they're there to recruit my brother, right? Like,
Jeff Cruz, a smart one.
Jeff Cruz, yeah, older brother,
smart one.
They're there to recruit him, and so like I'm just along for the ride. But like I'm kind of seeing it, and I like again freshman year. This is my second year playing football. I didn't even start playing football until 8th grade, and so like at that point, I didn't even really think like college football. Like, who knows? But like, as I kind of went through, got older, got on varsity as a sophomore, played my junior year, all of a sudden it's like, okay, like I can see myself playing college football. Like, I love this game. That's something that I want to pursue. And so as I'm like looking at all these different colleges, CNU is kind of in the back of my mind where like I could see myself going there. I could see myself playing there. And then like they did early admissions. I applied, got accepted. They had some other stuff that was like scholarship, president's leadership program, all that stuff.
As D3, you're not getting money like you would at a D1 or a D2.
No, and that was a big thing too. Was like it was a state school, and so it was going to be a little bit cheaper than some of the other Division III options out there. My senior year, I was looking back. I was probably one of those kids that's like on the bubble between being a Division I player, being a Division II, Division III player.
Would you have played in Division I though? Or would you have been on the team?
I'd love to be able to say that I could. I honestly don't. I think I could.
Right.
But
that's a lot of hard work. I mean, I'm not saying CNU wasn't a lot of hard work, but to play at a D1 level, that's a lot.
So that's one thing where I'll disagree with you, Bob. Like, I think being a Division III football player, you are not putting in any less work than you would at the Division I level. Like, and there is a ton of talent at every dude who's playing at the Division III level, they were like the best player on their high school football team.
So if you're a D3, let's say backup, and you're trying to fight for a starting position, it's just as hard to get there.
100%. Okay. So here's the difference between Division I and Division III is for 90% of the roster, it's about, I'd say 3 to 4 inches of size, right? And maybe 0.2 of a second on your 40. Okay, so like the difference between a Division I lineman and a Division III lineman it's probably not anything to do with talent. It's that Division I lineman is 6'5", 6'6". The Division III lineman is 6'1", 6'2". Like, that's the difference.
The measurements more than talent.
More than, I mean, like, again, there's so many, like, the most talented football players that I ever played with. I played at CNU, and like I played with Logan Thomas. Like, obviously that dude's in the NFL, but like I played with some really, really good players at CNU. So anyhow, to take it back to kind of my experience.
By the way, portal wasn't a big deal then because you might have lost some guys, is what I'm hearing you say.
Well, we had a kid when I was at CNU, my freshman year there. Again, I was a really good player in high school. I didn't play at all. I played 2 snaps my entire freshman year at CNU. We had a running back. His name was Felatunde Ogun. He was a transfer from Cincinnati. He rushed for, I want to say, over 2,000 yards as a running back. He was Conference Player of the Year. He was a junior. And like, this dude had legitimate opportunities as a junior to pursue professional football. Like, not necessarily in the NFL or anything like that, but I remember talking to him, and like he was getting legitimate interest from the CFL. Like he ended up coming back for his senior year. I think he hurt his knee. Like things just didn't work. He went from rushing for 2,000 yards to like 700 yards. Still a really good player, but like he just didn't have the same senior year that he had as a junior. And so that stuff kind of fell off for him. But like this dude was like amazing. He was a phenomenal football player. Still holds a bunch of records at CNU, but like that was the quality of player that we had. Like this dude, he was a full scholarship player at Cincinnati. For whatever reason, things didn't work out. And so, like you said, at that point, there was no transfer portal. If you transferred from Division I to Division I, you were going to have to sit for a year. And so he had some connections with the staff at CNU to where he could transfer down and play right away. He played, had a good sophomore year, and then his junior year, he blew up. And then, like I said, got hurt his senior year, and things didn't really work out. But, like, that stuff was not all that uncommon.
But it wasn't common either. It
No.
wasn't super common like it is now.
With transfers, what would happen then was you would see guys at the Division I level, they would transfer down to, like, FCS level or even Division III. Like, that because, again, if you were going to transfer from Division I to Division I, you would have to sit out a year. Or if you transferred up from, like, say, Division II to FBS or even, like, an FCS to an FBS, you would have to sit out a full season. And so, like, that was not something that you saw a ton because nobody wanted to sit a year. I mean, you get 4 years to play. And they were a lot stricter about eligibility rules back then, too. So, like, you don't want to miss one of those 4 years and have to sit and not be able to play. So, like, again, I'd like, and I'll still say this, like, the level of pure talent at Division III is, like, there are really, really good football teams. Again, like, when I was playing, we played a team in Texas, Mary Hardin Baylor. Went down there, played them the first round of the playoffs my junior year, and they put it on us pretty good. That team put 5 guys in NFL camps. That's a Division III football team. 5 guys went to NFL camps, and, like, there are, I would say, the majority of FBS level Division I programs, like back then, they were not putting 5 guys in camps. Not like, Penn State, USC, like, sure, those guys, but like your average, Marshall, Tulane, like those guys, they're not putting 5 guys in NFL camps. So, like, the level of talent is not necessarily what people may think. A lot of times it's just, again, it's like 3 inches of size, maybe 0.2 of a second on your 40. Like, that's the difference between those two levels.
I love it when I'm wrong because you'll correct me. And by the way, that bell you heard, it means academia still going on.
That's right. Student athlete. We take that very seriously at JF.
Academia is still going on at Jefferson Forest. So back to, did we even answer?
I love talking to Bob Alvis because we can go on these tangents. We can wind down these roads, man. And it's always a good
And I don't edit them. I keep the tangents in. So.
I love it. All right. So back to me and my recruiting process. So junior year going into senior year, again, I was getting some Division I interest. Like I remember I went on a visit to William and Mary. I had gone on a visit to Duke. I was a pretty good student. So some of the higher academic schools like were feasible for me.
Who's your high school coach, by the way?
Jeff Woody.
Okay.
So again, we can go down a tangent here. My sophomore year, my first year on varsity was Jeff Woody's first year as the varsity coach at Brookville. So like him and I kind of came in at the same time, and that was cool to kind of, again, looking back, see his growth as a coach over those 3 years, and to be able to be a part of that. But so going into my senior year, like I said, had some interest, doing the camp circuit, all that. No offers or anything, but like there was potential there. The first game of my senior year, I had a Liz Franck injury on my foot. And so like,
who's Liz?
I had never heard of it before. And a lot of people like, it's not a very common injury.
Is it similar to plantar?
It kind of, but so basically what it is like, there's these bones in your foot, and to like make it super, super simple, they split apart. And so I remember going to the doctor thinking that like, this was not a super serious thing. Like the injury happened in the first quarter. I played all the way through the first half. Talking to my coaches, they're like, hey, we're going to sit you just to like, make sure we don't damage this thing any further, get an idea what it was. I'm like, all right, it felt like a sprain. Like I could put weight on it, but it hurt. So I remember going to the doctor, and he told me, all right, yeah, we can get you in for surgery. We can get this thing done, and we'll get you on the books, and we'll get you surgery in like a week. I'm like, whoa, surgery? Like, what are we talking about here? And so the diagnosis again was Liz Franck. And at that point, the treatment for it was surgery, and that would have put me out for the rest of the year. And like, this was my first game my senior year, and like, I'm done. And so talked to my family a lot, like just went through a long process, decided I was not going to get the surgery and I was going to play on it. They had to create like a plastic mold that they put on my foot, like crazy tape job, all that stuff, just to be able to get me to play. I ended up playing my whole senior year, but like I remember one of the coaches from William and Mary, he came on a visit to the school, and I was on crutches at the time. So like going to meet with this dude, I was on crutches, and like I could just see it immediately in his face. Like the second he saw me on crutches, like it was like, all right, I'm on to the next one. Like he talked for me, and he was cool, but like I knew at that point, like this is not going to happen. It's not going to work out for me. But like to kind of pull it all together, like I'd like to think that sort of thing, like it happens for a reason, because that's what got me to CNU. And like, again, I said it earlier, I'll say it, like I would not trade that experience that I had at CNU for anything. Like, phenomenal coaching staff, phenomenal program. Like my best friends are all guys that I played with at CNU. I met my wife at CNU. I got the opportunity to coach at CNU for 5-6 years after I'd finished playing. So like that it worked out perfectly. I could not have had a better situation to end up with there.
Plantar fasciitis, by the way, is if every time you walk, there's pain on the bottom of your foot.
I am well aware, because like I said, I did not get surgery on it.
Well, the listening public might not be aware.
So it's like it's I'm at the age now where, like, I played 4 years of college football with this thing. Like it was fine. And all of a sudden, like, dang, my foot like started to hurt now. Like I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't put it any weight.
For a layman, I would say plantar fasciitis is like walking on a bunch of Legos.
Yeah,
that are just standing on the floor, and you never like. I remember when I had it. Even if you got up out of bed to just go to the restroom,
student athlete,
even going from the bed to the bathroom, even a short walk feels like it's 10 miles if you have plantar.
Oh, it is really painful. It is really painful.
Was there a strong second after seeing you? I'm not asking for names.
Yeah. So truthfully, it was all of the ODAC schools and then CNU. And like I'd had the opportunity, like I said, to kind of see a lot of them when Jeff was going through his recruiting process.
Cruz, not Woody.
Yeah. My older brother, Jeff Cruz. Like I said, he ended up at Ferrum, and so Ferrum was recruiting me hard. Like they wanted me to go there and play with my brother. I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to do my own thing, have my own path. And so like there were some other schools that I looked at, but like in the back of my mind, I think I knew it was always going to be CNU.
8th grade. That's a little bit of a late bloomer.
Yeah. And so again, like it just goes back to Jeff, right? So Jeff didn't play until he was in 9th grade. And so football, like it just wasn't really a thing when we were growing up. We played baseball.
Why?
Truthfully, I don't know. Like, it was just never like we played Little League baseball all the way going up, had really great Little League experience. But like football was just never a sport that either one of us had pursued. And I think his high school coaches at the time, Glenn Jenkins, talked him into playing as a 9th grader. And so he played JV as a 9th grader, played varsity as 10th, 11th, and 12th, and had a really good career, really good experience. And so like watching him do that, he would talk to me and be like, you should really play. And so when I got to 8th grade, I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this thing a try. I'm going to play. And I loved it. I had a great football experience, had really good coaches at the 8th grade level. Marshall Schmidt was my head B team coach as an 8th grader. And then when Jeff Woody got the job as the varsity coach, he brought on Marshall to be his defensive coordinator. And so like that just kind of speaks to the quality of coaches that we had there. Like this dude who was a really good defensive coordinator at the varsity level was coaching the middle school program at that point. So I had a really good experience and like man, I'm going to pursue this thing. Got into it. Had a really, really good high school football career.
Coaches always want to recruit kids that can play the line too.
Yeah, I was a big kid.
Yeah.
So they were after me for that. No doubt.
Mean, you're not looking, if you see somebody that's not big, hey, come out and try out. But I mean, it's not like, hey, we need you.
Yeah. And so Mike Christ, he's the head coach at Radford. Yeah. So he was my 8th grade, might have been my 7th grade PE teacher. And so he was coaching at Brookville at the time. He was one of the assistants. And like, I just remember, my brother's playing and I'm sure Mike went to the coaches and was like, hey, Jeff's younger brother, he's in my PE class. He's a big kid. Like, we got to try to talk to this kid and get him out there. So he would talk to me about playing and finally came out as an 8th grader. He said I had a good career and loved every second of it, man.
What got you into coaching?
So was at CNU, had some phenomenal coaches at CNU. Matt Kelchner, the head coach there. Phenomenal coach. My offensive line coach, Dan Antolik, was like amazing as an offensive line coach. A hard ass, like man, he was really hard on you. But like got the best out of his guys doing that.
What do you mean by hard on you? To where he's not going to go to prison?
No. I mean, like he had some colorful language at times. Let's put it that way. But he had been coaching for a long time. He had been a head coach at the college level. He had been a head coach at the high school level, and everything in between. Coached it. He was a white coach who was a head coach at HBCU before. So like had a wide variety of experiences as a coach. And like,
are we at a softer level yet then? In terms of like, I mean, you can't run Oklahoma drill now.
I will not describe Dan Antolik as soft.
Well, but you get where I'm going. I mean, we're not into a softer level yet, but Antolik is still coaching.
Yeah, I mean, so it was.
Grr.
Yeah, he was very, very old school in his coaching style, and the thing that like, and it's stuck with me. Like the lessons that you learn from football, this one stuck with me more than anything. Is like, good enough is never good enough, right? Like you could go out there and you could play the game of your life, and like we're gonna sit in film, and we're gonna go through, and he's gonna find 100 things that you did wrong, and like not a ton of praise about the things that you did right, but like, hey, your first step was bad here, and that's why this sort of thing happened. And like literally, we're sitting in this film, and like this dude, I mean, like we're watching film, and it's first 2 steps rewind, first 2 steps rewind, first 2 steps rewind, and he's just going through and coaching every single guy on every single little detail about offensive line play to get the best out of you, and like knew how to get the best out of you, knew how to say the right thing to just like piss you off to where you're gonna go out there like, I'm gonna go prove this guy wrong. Like I'm gonna do it like, you know. He says I can't do that. Like, no, he's wrong. I ain't going to go out there and do that. And like to get the best out of you as a player, like you didn't always like it at the time. Like sometimes it was not what you wanted to hear, but it would be what you needed to hear again to get the best out of you as a player.
Were you always a nitpicker?
And so like having gone through that and then having the opportunity to stay on as a coach there. And so like I go through it as a player, right? And I see it on that side. And then my senior year, I kind of had an idea like I think I want to pursue coaching. And so I had set my classes up to where I would have an extra semester after my spring of my senior year. So I could have taken like 5 classes, my second semester, junior year, and then through my senior year. And instead of doing that, I took 4 so that I'd have a couple more so I could stay on as a student and help coach the following fall. And so like my senior year, I kind of knew I wanted to be a coach. So I started paying attention to things a little bit differently at that point. And then
what do you mean?
Just like, you know, when you're a player, you're so focused on like your job and what you need to do on whatever play, whatever concept. And so going into my senior year, like, again, I had a conversation with Coach Kelchner, like, hey, I think I want to be a coach. Like, or is there anything I can do right now as a player that might help set myself up for that? He basically just told me, like, you know, be a great leader, set a good example. But when you're in these meetings, like, pay attention to what's going on with everybody. And so when we're having offensive install meetings or just talking about like this run concept in general, I'm not just looking at it necessarily as the right guard. I'm looking at it as the full offensive line. I'm looking at it as what is our H-back's responsibility on this play? Like, how does that fit into the greater concept? And so then when I go from being a player to being a coach, and now like that's all you're thinking about is how all the pieces fit together. All the different things that we did schematically, the different run schemes, all that stuff, like to be able to see it on that side and see like, again, a guy like Coach Antolik who was so good at motivating you as a player, and then to like see the nitty gritty of the schematic details of, hey, we're motioning this guy here to try and widen this linebacker out to give us a better lane. Like to be able to experience that, to know the why behind the what we were doing as a player. So like as a player, I know what we're doing. I know what this play is. And then as a coach, I start to learn like, okay, this is why we're doing it. They're in this front, and this run scheme that we're doing is good versus this front. Whereas when they're in this other front, maybe this other run scheme is a little bit better.
And you've got to know pretty much everybody's job, especially like you said on the line. But even like the quarterback's got to go right, not left.
Yeah, and so like it was that thing, right? Like the quarterback is going to open up this way. He's going to reverse out on this play versus on this run. He's going to open up to the front side. Just different things like that to like you never think about. Like I'm the right guard. I don't know what the quarterback's doing.
Even to a degree, you got to know the defense a little bit, like in terms of are they going to blitz? Are they going to lay off? Or you know.
And again, like I had some concept of that as a player, but like all of a sudden now I'm a coach and I'm understanding defensive structure and how this coverage marries to this front and where this linebacker is supposed to fit when they're doing this versus he's going to fit over here when they're doing that. And how do all those pieces fit together? And like that was the part of coaching. Like I said, I had an experience as a student coach and like getting to go through that and see like this whole new world of football that I had never experienced as a player, right? Like, you know, a little bit about what you're doing offensively and defensively, but all of a sudden to like have it all opened up and like to see the full picture, like that's when I fell in love with it. It was like, man, this is really cool. This is what I want to pursue.
You a true assistant or a GA?
So kind of a GA role. I
GA
guess.
Graduate assistant, by the way.
Like I said, I just finished up a 4-year playing career. I'm coming back. I'm still taking classes. There was no graduate program at CNU. So I was still an undergrad student, but like doing the things that a graduate assistant would do, like drawing up the scout cards, all that stuff.
Does football have volunteer coaches?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
That I was essentially a volunteer. I didn't get paid very much for that semester of work that I did there.
But GAs are not going to be, Scrooge McDuck to where they're doing backstrokes in 50s either.
No, I was still a student,
right.
So like I think I got paid $1,000 for the whole semester of coaching.
So you're paying the coach.
Yes, yeah. I was still on meal plan at that point, so like I didn't have to worry about feeding myself. I still had a on-campus apartment, that sort of thing. I was, still a student, but going through the coaching life, doing all the little things, like I said, drawing the scout cards, printing off the practice plans, whatever little tiny tasks.
The grunt work.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, how tough is it? I didn't mean to interrupt, but how tough is it to you're a coach, so you've got authority to a degree, even though you're a younger guy, but you still need to be relational to the guys in that locker room. You played with those guys.
Yeah.
How tough?
So that was a tough part because, again, like 6 months ago, these dudes were my brothers, right?
You're dressing next to them.
Yeah, and not only that, but like, there were younger guys on the offensive line, and like I remember we had a sophomore who it was pretty rare for a sophomore to play at CNU, and he started at left tackle when I was a senior. And so like I had to go out of my way to like bring this guy in the fold. And so like I'm making sure that he's eating lunch with us as all the seniors, like we're hanging out in the dorms, we're doing all that stuff together, bringing this guy in to make him a part of things. And then all of a sudden I'm turning around as a coach, and like one of the other coaches on the staff, he had talked to me and had gone through kind of a similar thing and told me like, hey, you got to cut the cord. Like you can't be buddies with these guys anymore. Like you can still be friendly, you can still have a good relationship, but y'all aren't friends. Like you got to be a coach to these dudes. And so like that was tough, right? Because I'm still a student, like I'm still going to class with some of these guys, but all of a sudden like the relationship has changed where we're no longer like friends, we're no longer equal, we're no longer hanging out, right? Like all of a sudden, like I'm a coach, and again, to take it back to what I had seen from Antolik and how he coached me, like I got to sometimes have a conversation with this dude that like maybe that's not a conversation that he wants to have. Like nobody wants to be told where they're screwing up and they're doing things wrong, and this guy's going to play over you because of that. But like as a coach, sometimes you got to have those conversations. And so that was tough to like transition from being a player to being a coach, and like it's just a different relationship that I have with these guys. And again, 6 months ago, like we're going to war together,
You learned a lot from Antolik.
Yeah.
You learned a lot from Kelchner.
No doubt.
Do you remember the first coaching clinic you went to where kind of things maybe like the light bulb kind of came on the head?
I don't know that there was ever like, and even still now, like it's never that one moment of clarity where like, oh my God, now it all makes sense, right? Like I'm still learning. Right, it is a constant process of learning. I will remember though, one thing Kelchner would do with the staff that I thought was really really cool was, before all the players show up for camp, the coaches, we're all there before that. And we're all talking about a camp schedule, practice planning, when we're going to do install, and all that.
And we're talking camp for college kids, not a youth camp.
Correct. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Like this is our fall camp. This is our preseason camp. Where they're showing up before classes start. They're some of the only guys on campus at that point. We're doing 2-a-days, all that stuff. The coach
like what you guys do in the summer in high school.
More
to a
than
degree.
That. It is
right.
It is intense,
but comparable.
It is
it's the closest thing I can get. Right.
As a college player, you are waking up at 7 a.m. and you are doing football until like 9 p.m. Now, there's some breaks built in there, but like it is intense. Like it is 2 to 3 weeks of like we're all football all the time. And so, like, there's a lot of planning and preparation that goes into that as a coaching staff that, again, like, as a player, I had no concept of. Like, I just showed up and did what they told me to do. Like, all of a sudden, now I'm on the other side, and, like, I'm a coach. We got to plan out, like, okay, well, when are we going to have these meetings? When are we going to install inside zone versus when are we going to install power? Like, just different stuff like that. One thing Kelchner would always do is he would have each position coach do, like, a little mini clinic to the rest of the staff about how they're going to coach their position, what are the important techniques that they're going to teach their guys, how does it fit into the greater scheme of what they're doing. All the way up, like, so I get to hear our corners coach talk about the nitty gritty details of playing corner. Like I'm an offensive line. I have no idea about playing corner, but I got to learn from that guy. And then I got to hear from our defensive coordinator who's going over the entire defensive scheme and kind of hear how that stuff fits into it. And again, I played offensive line. Like I don't know anything about defensive coverages or anything like that, but every year as I'm staying on as a coach, like I get to be a part of that and I get to learn from the guys that are doing it to where I want to say it was maybe my third year coaching at CNU. I got pushed over to the defensive side. I was coaching defensive line, which again was a great opportunity for me because now I get to learn this other side of the ball. So now instead of learning what we're doing offensively, I'm sitting in these defensive meetings where we're talking about, the offense is in this formation. How are we going to align to it? What checks are we going to make when they do that? And so, like, as a coach, that was awesome. Like, I got to play as an offensive lineman, learn the nitty gritty details of offensive line play. Then I got to be on the offensive staff and kind of see how that fits into the whole picture. And then I get to go over to the defensive side and learn defensive fronts and defensive coverages to where I get to the point where now I'm coaching high school. And, like, again, I'm still learning, right? Like, everybody's still learning, but I got a pretty good idea of how all these pieces fit together. I know, when I'm calling an offense, okay, well, they're playing cover 3. That means in cover 3 that this outside linebacker, like, he has to do this, right? Like, we're talking about a teenager, he might not do that. But, like, I can understand based on the defensive structure, like, how I want to attack that because I coached that on the defensive side of the ball. Like, that was, I would not trade that experience for anything.
So mini clinics at CNU helped more than big clinics.
No doubt.
Would. Okay.
No doubt. Again, because not only did I get to hear about it, but then I got to go watch the practice film of us doing it, right? And then I got to sit in the same office. I was a young offensive assistant. I'm sharing an office with another defensive assistant. So, like, dude, we're in the office all the time. Like, yeah, we're going to talk ball. Like, so, him and I are talking about different things. He's learning from me. I'm learning from him. So it wasn't just like sitting in a 1-hour clinic where I'm hearing a guy from Ohio State talk about their offense. Like, I'm there all the time, and I'm learning. I'm soaking up information from a lot of different coaches from a lot of different places. And that was the cool thing that Coach Kelchner would do is there were, like, the nature of coaching football is you're probably going to get fired at some point, especially at the college level. Like, that's just the reality of it. So one of the things he would do is he had a great network. He came up through William & Mary, had a lot of connections there. And so guys that would go off to different Division I jobs, if they got fired, like, a lot of times they would come to CNU and they would coach for a year at CNU while they're trying to find, like, their next big job. And so I had guys that had coordinated offenses at the Division I level, like, they're coming in and they're coaching quarterbacks at CNU. Or our defensive coordinator, Justin Wood, like, he's now the defensive coordinator, associate head coach at Richmond. So, like, having the opportunity to learn from those guys and see kind of how they did things at these big levels. And when you got all the time in the world, you can install whatever scheme you want. Like, it was really cool to have different coaches come through and be able to learn from some of the best. That was one of the things that I thought Kelchner did a really good job of was bringing in a lot of different guys.
Who was most recently the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Mike Tomlin.
Didn't he have connections?
He did. Yeah. So we played, I want to say it was maybe Washington, W&J in Pennsylvania in the playoffs.
Washington Jefferson.
Yes. Yeah. And Mike Tomlin actually came and talked to our team before that game. Like, that was really cool. Like, I was playing at the time. But I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Like, Mike Tomlin's coming and giving us a pregame speech. Like, that was awesome. Kelchner had actually coached Tomlin when he was at William & Mary. And so there were definitely some connections there. Yeah.
Lou Holtz actually spent some time at
So
William & Mary.
Jimmy Laycock at William & Mary.
Long time.
Yeah, he was there forever, and there are a lot of big-name coaches that came up through Laycock. And Kelchner had coached there for a long time, and so he had worked with a lot of these guys. And so, like, I mean, it was like every year we'd have somebody with some sort of William & Mary connection that would come and spend the fall as our defensive line coach or, whatever the case was. And so, again, having the opportunity to learn from those guys was really, really cool.
And FYI to the kids out there listening to this, if you've got a piece of paper on it that says graduate of William & Mary, that's a pretty big deal, too.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So you don't learn anything at coaching clinics because you're smarter than all the guys.
No. It's just like to really learn it, you gotta be a part of it. You gotta know the nitty gritty intricate details, and, like, you can't get that in a 1-hour clinic.
I was being silly. Do you know every coach in Virginia, high school wise?
No way, man.
Is it important to, though, meet people at a clinic and network? I think
you
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's honestly that's what clinics are for more than anything else. Like, in it is for, maybe I'll listen to this guy talk and then I can go shake his hand and we can create a connection there. And so if I like what he's talking about, I can then reach out to him and say, hey, man, this clinic that you gave on the single wing, like, tell me a little bit more about how you guys do your wing counter. And then he can send me some information on that and I can kind of learn it that way.
Nick Saban is still pretty smart, by the way. But if you can meet somebody that you don't know at, say, like Northside or whatever, that might help JT Cruz more down the road than saying, hey, I got a picture with Nick Saban.
No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, and I always want to, like, if I am going to go to a clinic, I like hearing other high school guys talk, maybe more so than the receivers coach at Ohio State, just because, like, the things they're doing at Ohio State, like, maybe we can do some of that, but, like, we're coaching high school football here. I'd rather hear it from the guy who's coaching high school and kind of get his overview of how he does things, because that's more applicable to my program.